Hello, everyone, and welcome to Okcoin Live. And today, Devika and I are hosting a very special guest. We have Arthur from the Pocket Network, which is one of my favorite crypto projects out there, based out of the US, Tampa, and Baltimore. And so, and Arthur is the CIO of Pocket. He's laughing because we just learned about this Baltimore tidbit a second ago. By the way, Arthur, we like to have fun on Okcoin Live. We're gonna end with a thing called "Okay, Not Okay," where we ask you random questions like pineapples on pizza, which you better be okay with, or
Not
else
okay. Not
We're
okay.
okay going live right now, if not.
we're skipping ahead. But welcome to the show. Can you give us a quick intro about you and Pocket? And welcome.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate being here. My name is Arthur Sabintsev. I'm the Chief Information Officer, not Chief Investment Officer at Pocket Network. I've been here for about 9 months. My whole shtick here is I oversee development, product. I see engineering, product quality, anything that goes with building a solid set of products for the Pocket Network. That's my purview here, and I'm really excited to talk about that in depth for the next hour or so.
Amazing. We're so excited to have you here today. So Arthur, as we kick off, our Okay Going Live and get more in depth about what Pocket is, let's start with the basics. Like, what is Pocket Network?
Sure. Pocket Network is a layer one blockchain that is was made to facilitate or ease access into the blockchain space. So we'll use some buzzwords and then I will explain this. It'll take a couple minutes, so bear with me here. Buzzwords. We are decentralized infrastructure. That means we have a bunch of nodes, and nodes being a bunch of servers, a bunch of machines scattered all across the world that process. Um, oh wait, what are we doing here with these
We're
numbers?
counting your buzzwords. We're counting your buzzwords.
All right, take a step back. We are a decentralized network of nodes. Basically, we process API requests from decentralized apps or dApps to various blockchains. We are blockchain agnostic and we are a blockchain ourselves. So here's how it works. Let's say you've built the latest and greatest, CryptoPunks NFT craze. You built some type of pay-to-earn video game, or you're building a DEX, or anything that needs to interact with any blockchain. Let's just say Ethereum, because the merge is like tomorrow or the day after.
Let's hope.
Uh, oh, God willing. So the merge is right around the corner. Let's say you want to build some type of app, something like that connects to, like, let's say Watch the Burn or ultrasound.money, right? Those are a lot of websites that pull a lot of data from on-chain data, right? It's data that's on the block on the actual blockchain. So the question is, how do you get that data? The hard answer is you stand up your own infrastructure nodes. So you stand up your own. You go to AWS or Azure or Google Cloud or Linode or any or provider cloud or bare metal, and you do a bunch of DevOps work, and you get essentially a machine up and running that syncs with that chain, and then you pull data from it. So you also write an API layer on top of that, and you pull the data down, and then you make sure it's low latent and all this other stuff. You essentially need like a degree in engineering just to set up this node, right? There's a lot of tutorials out there, but it's non-trivial. So that is the hard way of doing it. The easier way of doing it is to go to a service like Pocket Network, where we provide you an endpoint or a URL that we meter. So in other words, we track the usage and we provide you access to whatever blockchain you want. In this case, we have access to, like, I don't know, 30 to 40 blockchains right now, from the Polkadot ecosystem, the Ethereum ecosystem, all the EVMs I can build on top, like Avalanche, and so on and so forth. And with that, you can query the blockchain for any type of information you want, like what transactions happen in this block and what's the current block height. And you can orchestrate them together and get the data that you want. And the reason you want to do this is you don't have to stand up all the infrastructure. So myself, my background, I'm an app developer from the last generation, from the Web 2 world. I did mobile development for a decade. So if I wanted to build a mobile app, building mobile apps is hard on its own, but then having to stand up an entire like infrastructure setup with an API on AWS is like a whole nother individual or two individuals' jobs work to do. And I just want to build my app, right? Just to pull, let's say, like NFTs that I own. I don't want to do double the work, so I would go to something like Pocket Network. I would go to their portal, so portal.pokt.network, and I would get an endpoint to Ethereum or Polygon or wherever my NFTs live, and I would just be able to pull them really quickly. So it's just solving that interaction layer, that communication layer between an application and decentralized and the blockchain and the actual blockchain. How do you? There you go. There's my spiel. Good.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But tell us a little bit more about, so one of the premises, right, of Pocket is to abstract away the different layer ones, if you will, underneath. So can you talk to us about why that's even important? So you talked about, like, if you're an app developer, you want to develop, and so it's important to abstract away, all the DevOps work. But if you're higher than that, so to speak, on the stack, you're an end user, right? You're not even a developer. Why do you care whether it's Pocket or someone else? Why do you care if how easy it is for an app developer to actually develop? Like,
Sure. Let me first. I'm going to say something that's going to sound like I'm shooting myself in the foot, but I'll come around to it. So you don't is the answer. The answer is you don't. I'll give you an example. When you go to a website right now, what do you care about? You care that it loads fast and that it looks familiar to what you're used to, right? Those are the kind of the two basic things you care about. Do you care if under the hood it's written in PHP or Go or Node.js? Absolutely not. No, no. Even engineers don't even care what it's written in unless they're trying to, deconstruct the website. So at the end of the day, end users don't care that something is written on a specific blockchain, but developers do. And developers want to make sure that the experiences that they create are highly performant. They're built on reliable infrastructure, meaning that if there's a storm out in Northern Virginia, that AWS East won't go down, right? That's just the big region that provides a lot of the network, a lot of the that hosts a lot of the internet. If AWS East goes down, a lot of companies can't access. I'm not sure which ones, but like I've seen Facebook and Netflix go down, and there's ways to like fail over to other parts of the world where that won't happen. So what Pocket does is it effectively has created a highly available or high uptime service so that when, let's say, you are playing a Web3 game, or you are accessing a decentralized exchange or DEX, or you're doing something in this space, and for whatever reason, there's a massive weather event going on, or something else happens in the areas by you, Pocket has tens of thousands of nodes scattered across the world where your service will be, you will still be able to do what you're trying to do without having any outages, because one region or one warehouse is down where some of the nodes are located. And that's the main issue with centralized providers, is unless they are they are distributed well across the world, right? If you have nodes that are scattered all over Europe and the US and Asia and Australia and so on, you won't have that issue. But if you, sorry, I'm like talking to myself.
yeah.
There's like one reason around. Another one is around censorship resistance, which is like a hot topic right now, but there's multiple types of censorship. So I'll give you an example of something that happened with one of our competitors, and it could happen to, it can happen many different ways. So a while back, I think February or March of this year, I think there was a misconfiguration on Infura's side. So Infura is a company that is a competitor of ours. They offer endpoints to blockchain just like we do, but they work strictly with Ethereum virtual machines, or EVMs. So they have a very different set of blockchains that they work with, or a smaller subset than we do. And they are
Arthur, just really quickly, who uses Infura? I know you said EVM, but just give us
about
an
to get to that.
example. Yeah,
I was
okay,
about to,
okay, because this will make
MetaMask
it
was
real.
the answer I was going to say. I was looking at, so Infura, so there's a company called Consensus, which was founded by one of the founders of Ethereum, and Consensus, the company, owns Infura, which is a product of theirs, plus I think another entity, and they own the product known as MetaMask, which is a browser extension and mobile app that's a wallet that lets you access any EVM or anything that's built on an Ethereum virtual machine. So it could be like I think Gnosis or Avalanche's C chain or Ethereum, Polygon, and the rest. And so when you open up that wallet and you're accessing your data on your wallet, like it shows you your balance and what you own, it's making a call through Infura's APIs to fetch data. And you can do the same thing. You can swap those APIs for Pocket, but most people out of the box don't do that because they don't even know they can do that. It's more of a power user feature, like an advanced setting. And you can do that with many wallets these days. But anyway, so what ended up happening is people in Venezuela, from what I recall reading, lost access to their blockchain, to their wallets, Not that the data was gone. The data is always on the blockchain, right? It's immutable, it's permanent, existing as long as there are nodes up, the net data is available. But they were not able to access their data because there was a misconfiguration on the Ethereum side, which blocked access to Venezuela for whatever reason. I think it was just a country that we could not do business with. The U.S. could not do business with, but I think there was a misconfiguration there because that is not true. With something like Pocket, we, for the most part, up until very, very recently, we could not block access from different regions of the world, right? We were censorship resistant in that part. But that is not completely true anymore for different reasons. So I can get into that now, or we can go somewhere else. So I want to make sure to answer all the questions.
Yeah, let's finish up. But I know David has some questions, so I want to stop monopolizing. But let's definitely get into why you're no longer fully censorship resistant, because we can talk about Tornado Cash and we can talk about the whole state of the world. But we would love to understand, why before we go on.
Sure. So we are not fully censorship resistant right now because we are a U.S. based company, and the U.S. Has a lot of federal organizations, one of which is the U.S. Treasury, and the U.S. Treasury has an office called the Office of Foreign Assets Controls, which effectively says there are different OFAC, yes, OFAC, OFAC. And they have a list, a block list, a blacklist, whatever you want to call it, that essentially states who U.S. citizens and entities can and cannot interact with in any real, I think, financial or any capacity. So that would be countries like North Korea or Iran. We can't really have any financial transactions with those countries. And more recently, we now can interact with certain smart contracts on Ethereum, which is new, right? It's usually people or countries and not programs that we can interact with, and the whole Tornado Cash issue caused that. So for those who don't know, Tornado Cash is a smart contract deployed on the Ethereum blockchain that is a money mixer or a token mixer. Basically, you put your tokens in, and it will obfuscate where those tokens came from when it's sending it to your designated address. So you essentially say, hey, I'm sending tokens from here to there, but I don't want people to know that I sent it from here to there. And that was what that program did. So one of the use cases, I wouldn't say the main use case, but one of the obvious use cases that comes up is money laundering, and the U.S. and many other banks and institutions in general are really against money laundering. They have something called AML, or anti-money laundering technology, and the Tornado Cash is a mixer, is basically a tool that facilitates money laundering. So what ended up happening was there was a lot of hacks this year that happened, I think, by the Lazarus Group, which is a North Korean-based hacker group, a crypto hacker group. And what they did is they exploited a bunch of bridges and a bunch of crypto projects, and then they used Tornado Cash to move the money around to North Korea. So that's what's purported to be. So in response to that, at least that's what publicly has been said, the U.S. government, through the U.S. Treasury, through the Office of Foreign Assets Control, or OFAC, put a bunch of wallets or a bunch of addresses that belong to Tornado Cash on the SDN, which is essentially the do not interact with list. And these are the first set of crypto protocols crypto programs that have ever been put on there. So a bunch of companies, including Pocket, who were until that point censorship resistant, could no longer tout that they are fully censorship resistant, because we are now cooperating with the government because we are afraid for what it might be if we don't. However, there are ways that we can get around this later on, which I can get into as well if you would like.
So yeah, I have a couple of questions, but before that, I have a quick question. I thought this background would be nice, but it's very distracting. So I'm gonna move and we're gonna cut this section very quickly.
Cut the section. I think this is the coolest part of the interview. You moving around from house
Yeah, I
out.
can see where you live.
I thought the paint would be very pretty, but I'm in a new location, so I'm gonna move into something that feels more stable and less wonky.
For the audience, David, we can cut this. Davica just moved from her living room to her living room, just different angle of the living room.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be edgy for once, and it did work. So I apologize. Okay, so let's get back into the questions. Um, Arthur, it's really interesting when you talk about being, censorship resistant or working with the U.S. government and the trade-off that, we're seeing now in crypto. So, I'd love to hear your perspective in general about, what does censorship mean, and what does working with the U.S. government mean for crypto in the long run? But I'm also curious about how you see that kind of playing out for the Pocket's users.
Let me think about how to answer that one. Let me talk about why we are not censorship resistant and where there's a kind of like sort of like a centralizing point in our network. I
Hmm.
think I need to talk about our product a little more, and then I think the answer will naturally evolve from there. So let's start with that. So we have a network of nodes that are run by an innumerable amount of oh sorry, I say countless, and they say countless amount of people and individuals and institutions that have set up infrastructure to run a bunch of pocket nodes and full nodes. So the way our product works is as follows. So you as an app developer come in and you want to get access to, let's say, Ethereum. You go to this product that we have called the portal. The portal is a centralizing point. It is a gateway that we, Pocket Network, the US based entity, controls. And what we do is we effectively have deployed this gateway in every part of the world, in 20 different regions around the world, where you can effectively access low latent, highly performant. We provide you with low latent, highly performant access to a blockchain of your choice. So if you are in Australia and you're trying to make or let's say actually a better example is in Frankfurt. If you're in Frankfurt, Germany, and trying to make a API request for something, you will hit the Frankfurt gateway and you'll hit the nodes that are distributed within some reasonable distance from Frankfurt to get access to whatever data you want on the blockchain. So the actual nodes, the actual Pocket servers, Pocket nodes that are processing these requests and going through consensus, right? Because we're a layer one blockchain, they are fully distributed. They're owned by, we don't know who owns which node. We can kind of find that data on chain to some degree with some metadata, but we don't own them. It's owned by a network, complete separate network. So our supply side, our supply of nodes is completely centralized. Our demand side, which is the people driving API requests into our decentralized network, they still use a gateway that is owned by us. And because we are a US based company, the gateway is a US based entity, essentially a US based software product. So we can't do what we were doing prior to the Tornado Cash thing, the Tornado Cash issue, because we effectively would be breaking US Treasury law or their yeah, I guess what the decree that they made. So a way around this potentially in the future is decentralizing our portal or our gateway. Um, so on the horizon is a new version of our blockchain. So our current blockchain is a Tendermint-based or Cosmos-based layer one blockchain. Doesn't matter what that means. It means that we essentially took an out-of-the-box solution and we made it our own. We customized it. We built new things about it. We've expanded on it. But there are limitations to what we can do there. And one of those things is how we actually drive demand, which is something called stake for access, which I'll get to that in a moment. So in the future, we were building a homegrown custom blockchain that will essentially allow us to not really have a portal if we don't want to have a portal. We can still build a portal to make a good user experience for people to access our network. But individual developers could effectively use a library or an SDK or software development kit where they could interact with our network without having to go through us. Or other companies around the world could effectively build nice little front ends that could be based out in Switzerland or in the Cayman Islands or elsewhere, and they could effectively duplicate what we've done once a new version of our protocol is built. And at that point, we are essentially decentralizing our gateway. So people can access the gateway from Pocket, or they could access it from another place in the world down the road where the new version of our protocol is out live, or they could just access it from an SDK if they are technical enough and build their own user front-end interface. So that's kind of how we can get around the problem to like prove out the censorship resistant piece. But that's just that's just part of this world that we're in, right? That's one of the whole premises or beauties of having a decentralized network or having a decentralized ledger, right? As long as there's a computer or a machine that is plugged into the network, that data will continue to exist. So we've kind of facilitated the creation of that, or we will be facilitating the creation of that from an entry point, from a gateway perspective, from the demand side. I think that answers the question. I can clarify if need be.
David, does that answer your question?
That doesn't actually answer my question.
Okay,
It answers
sorry.
a different question. I guess my
Please ask
question
again.
is, I mean, I appreciate the answer though because it adds a lot of context. But what I'm really wondering is a little bit more like almost philosophical and taking a step back
Oh,
and saying, like how does this kind of like working with centralized agencies impact crypto, and how do you kind of see the role of Pocket and the role of say even like broader like the crypto token teams play into working with the government versus not working with the government. And I'll let you answer this the way that is probably most appropriate, and doesn't get you too much into hot water.
well, it's more that the answer is really that we haven't really worked with centralized agencies directly. We are taking, we have our own legal counsel, so we are taking advice from them on how to proceed in the current, the current political environment. And that's about the best answer I can give you. It's because it's not like we're on the phone with the Treasury Department, like, hey, it's Pocket, like, can we chat? No, we can't do that. Or rather, I'm sure we can, but we don't do that right now.
Fair enough. Let me switch gears for a second and ask you a question before I give it back to Alex. And that's more about we've heard about the value of Pocket and what it does and how it really abstracts a lot of the complexity for users who are looking to kind of interact with crypto in a very specific way. But can you talk to me more about how does Pocket differentiate itself from its competitors? So, we've mentioned a few names on this video, but why should I think about Pocket and like why should I go to Pocket versus something else?
So there's a couple things here. So one, of all the providers out there, we're the only one that is not centralized. As I said a couple times on this call, all of our nodes are owned outside of Pocket Network. Like we own a few nodes. I think at some point the goal here is for Pocket Network, the company, to own about 10% of all the nodes, but we don't own anywhere near that right now. But that's for a security perspective that we want to reach that point. Right now, we've let the network be built out organically. So this means of the trilemma that exists in the blockchain space, which is I think scalability, security, and decentralization. We do the decentralization thing really, really well when it comes to actually running nodes or processing requests. So our competitors, the main ones of which are Alchemy and Infura, they are fully centralized. They do everything in house. Um, and this data will be released sometime in the next month or two, but our performance is on par, if not better, in some scenarios when it comes to centralized providers. I don't have a blog post I can point you at, but we've been, looking at our internal data and comparing the speed of the data, the speed test, pretty much of our product versus other products, and in some places we're on par, in some places we're a little below, and in some places we're better than some of our providers. Um, and then we have this unique mechanism, which I haven't talked about. So our blockchain is a proof of stake blockchain, but you can stake tokens in two different fashions. You can stake tokens. So if you're a node provider, someone wants to set up a node, you stake 15,000 tokens for anywhere from 15 to 60,000 tokens, and you get rewards for processing requests. Those rewards will be in the same token you stake, which is POKT, our native token, which you can buy on Okcoin, by the way. Uh, um, so the other thing that you can do is, and we're going to be releasing this next week actually, is you can actually pay for your service by staking Pocket as well. So right now, up until this moment, our service has been 100% free for everybody. So one major reason to use this, or to have used this up until I guess the week of September 21st, somewhere around there, is that you've never had to pay for your API access. It's been free the entire time. But now we're going to start charging folks, and the way we're going to charge folks is within, I think, a 1 or 2 year period, I think a 2 year period, we will give you the amount of tokens that you effectively paid, because you're going to be staking for your throughput. So taking a step back, let's say I think the way we've built the service right now is you get 250,000 requests per day for free. If you need more, we have a calculator in our tool that will tell you how much you need to pay per month to be able to have service that isn't degraded after the first 250,000 requests you make per day. And you will effectively be buying tokens with that and staking them. We'll be doing all that under the hood for you. After 2 years, we will be returning those tokens to you. So you've effectively paid for your service. in the form of tokens. Those tokens may appreciate or depreciate, or nothing may happen in that period of time. But at the end of the day, if they appreciate in value, you've made a profit on your API service,
Not
on your network, right? Sorry?
not financial advice.
Yeah. None of this is financial advice. But you also could lose even more money. You could lose money as well, right? But the basic idea is, rather than being a sunk cost, like you're paying infrastructure costs directly to AWS, you are paying for a decentralized network. You're getting tokens in return within 2 years later. And after you get those tokens, you can do whatever you want. You can restake them again, or you can sell them, or you can stake them for nodes. Up to you. The idea is it reduces some costs. So these are things that our competitors do not do.
So I'm just trying to grok all this.
Sure.
So before this, it was free. And the API calls were free. Now we're saying every API call you have to stake Pocket. In 2 years, when that Pocket is released, then what happens?
Well, you can keep it in. You don't have to take it back. The idea is that you're locking in. You're signing up for essentially a 2-year period, right? And you're doing it month by month, right? You can get out of your contract whenever you want, but to get the full amount of Pocket, I believe I have to look into the minutia of how we're supposed to execute on this, but I think you have to stay the full 2 years to get the full 2 years worth of Pocket, because we're essentially buying Pocket for you every month at whatever the price of Pocket is at that point. So this whole initiative is supposed to add organic buy pressure into the market, right? You buy Pocket, you go to our platform, you pay fiat, we take that fiat, and then we engage a market maker who will then go to all the exchanges, especially Okcoin, and will buy that Pocket on the demand side, right? At whatever the market cost is at that point, adding organic buy pressure into the system besides people currently, because currently people who are buying it are either speculating on the token or they're wanting to run nodes. And this adds the other side of our flywheel of actually people paying for our service. And this is what we're supposed to start realizing starting next week.
And is there any estimates on demand for this? Like, as you're going through, well, let's shift to kind of the product, and this maybe is a good segue into that. So there's a product roadmap and supporting all the different blockchains. How many people, if you can share, how many API calls do you get? How
Sure.
many pockets do you need? What's the demand for the price? I mean, look, we have a lot of investors, obviously, and people have come to Okcoin specifically to buy Pocket. Can you help us understand what that buy pressure looks like? What's it quantified?
Sure. So we currently get about 1 billion API requests per day. I forgot what that amounts to. I don't have the exact number off my top of my head. I'm sorry. Our CEO has been quoted in the last month or two to say something like if we were to charge for every relay beyond the first 250,000 for the apps that we have, it'd be something like $5 million a month. Would be our current addressable market. But that requires also moving our current free customers into the paid product, which is just going to take time to do that as well. We already have people who've already signed up to be on our paid product, proactively. There's a lot of stuff, because this specific product, the portal, is going to, this current iteration is going to be self-service, right, for a certain size of node developer. But for our massive whales that we have on our platform, for which we have quite a few, we'll have to work out specific details for them, because we also don't have all the software that we need in place to support things like access management, right? These companies that have that many requests, usually big companies that need multiple users to log in to be able to manage accounts. We're not there yet, so we'll be doing things custom on the side. So I can't give you a fully rounded answer, because we're figuring this out right now. All the economics and finance work is all kind of in theory right now. When it goes into practice starting next week, if we do this interview in a year from now, like a follow-up, I'll have much better numbers for you.
Fantastic. And do you see, and from a so you're doing 1 billion API calls per day or per month?
Per day.
Per day. So what can it scale to? In your prime, what would you love
Sure.
it to?
So our OKR for the next year is to get to 1 trillion
Per day.
per day. So let me. Huh?
This is some alpha right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if anyone knows that outside of, I guess it's the first time I ever said it out loud. That is one of the OKRs that we have. However, um, there are, like I said, we are building our own blockchain because the current blockchain has certain limitations. So the blockchain that we have currently has a limit of 3 billion or 3.2 billion that it can do per day. But we have a way to expand it like 3 or 4 or 5x that. So we have a couple engineers working on doing that and releasing it hopefully by the end of the year, a way to expand because we are growing really fast. I think at the beginning of the year we were doing 100 million, and now we've 10x'd it. I think in June, and we've kind of been floating. Even during the bear market, we're still getting a billion, anywhere from 900 to 1.4 billion a day. So we know that this is a software limitation that we're bumping up against. But we have a solution in place. So we're just working out on getting that. So to get to a trillion requires also releasing the next version of our blockchain, which we're calling V1. The current one we're calling V0. And that's still a bit of ways out. It's going to be released next year, but we could also theoretically between now and then also find a better, another way to increase the size of our current blockchain, because our current blockchain is in this quality of life improvement / maintenance phase while we research and build the new version. Yeah, so that's one thing that, I think that answers your question. I'm sorry, I forgot the specific one.
No, this is great, but let's talk about from a product roadmap perspective. Where else are you guys going? And
Sure.
who's adopting it? Maybe tell us this. Any exciting? I don't know how public this is, so obviously whatever is public. But who are some of the exciting folks that are actually using Pocket?
And also,
So,
and also
sorry, go ahead.
with that, I think we can also talk about like what are the future products that can be developed with Pocket. Um,
Sure.
Where do you kind of see the Pocket ecosystem going?
Sure. So I can tell you a lot actually. So we have Ledger support coming very soon. We've been working on it for a long time. The product, we had a massive leadership change over the course of the year. And one of the things I was brought into was to kind of streamline and focus and scale the company and focus the products, which is what we've been doing. So we've dropped a few products that we're no longer going to work on. One of the things we still are definitely going to work on is Ledger integration. We are finishing the last piece, which is staking through a Ledger. I've already gotten demos of everything else. Everything else works really well. So once we get the staking piece done, we just have to submit it to the Ledger App Store, get it approved, and we'll be available in Ledger Live. And that unlocks a lot of interesting things for us, like institutional custodians. And I'm not sure of all the names I can talk about, but there's a lot of interesting plays that come out of having Ledger integration. Next, we are one of the main providers for Avalanche subnet for DeFi kingdoms. Same thing when it comes for the Swimmer network, which is the Crobata game. We are also building out a subnets as a service concept where we would effectively, subnet is just like five or more validators, I think, that will allow you to set up your own blockchain with custom rules. So basically what we could do, because of what we do as a company, because one of the main things that we do is we bootstrap new chains into our network. Like I said, we have 30 to 40 chains right now. So we are the first company in the Pocket network that onboards a new chain into the network. What we could do as well, and what we're thinking or actively discussing, is effectively having people set up their own subnets where we also bootstrap them into the network immediately. So not only do we host the validator nodes for them, the initial ones, which is a revenue stream on its own, we also put them into the network, providing them with a decentralized network right away. Same thing with Polygon and Supernets. And this is all public. We have a roadmap on DWork where you can look at this. So we're having conversations with Polygon about Supernets as well. So I think everyone heard the Starbucks news yesterday, right? I'm pretty sure that's going to be a Supernet. I'm not sure if we have any play on that, or no one's told me yet, or I'm not allowed to say it. I don't know. Still trying to figure that piece out myself. But Polygon Supernets is a service. So in general, we're looking into decentralized, we're looking for SaaS models as well, like decentralized infrastructure as a service. Things that we can do where we could potentially provide full nodes as a service, where individual node providers come in and they're like, hey, I need access to a full node, but it's really expensive to set up, and I just want to build this product. We could offer that. We could do that for existing node runners who want to run like a Pocket node. So as an example, there's a product out there called DApp Node that lets you set up your own nodes fairly quickly. Someone could set up a Pocket node but not have the skills to set up a full node for Ethereum or Polygon or the rest. We could sell them a service for that. Other companies do that as well, so we could do that as well. So that is another type of set of products we can do that we're looking into setting up. we also have companies that pay us to be prioritized in being set up on our network. So I can't talk about who's paid us, but effectively there are companies that will pay us to be prioritizing it to the top of the list, to get more of like this white glove style service. And then there's also enhancements to our portal, which I said is our gateway. That's we're going to be adding access control in there. Signing with Ethereum is another thing that we're going to be looking into. We're building out our own Explorer, which is going to connect to our DAO, and show a lot of interesting information. I think kind of that's where we're going right now. Again, like I said, we're focusing. So the main products on the demand side is the portal and monetizing that, which is what I said we're releasing next week, which adds demand, which adds buy side pressure to all the exchanges. So it's organic buy side pressure. And then it's on the supply side, which is our infrastructure node running side. That's effectively taking the dozen plus engineers that we have and having them build out a revenue generating service where we can effectively decentralize a network or stand up new blockchains for individuals, because we have all the skills and we have the network that can bootstrap it. And on top of that, it's offering different tiers of service for people to access our network. And we're also building out an enterprise support function right now to help with that.
That's very exciting. I have a
Yeah.
ton, but Devika, I've been monopolizing. Do you want to go? But I have a couple more here about the product.
I was gonna say that's a lot of different things that you guys are working on. That's so exciting, right? So for people who are kind of believers of the Pocket Network and are following the Pocket Network, I think that the rest of 2022 and the rest of 2023 is gonna be an incredibly exciting time. One thing that I want to kind of think about and discuss with you is, you talked about having these, let's say like blank as a service, right? So that's
Mhm.
a super notes as a service. In some of our other episodes of OKCoin Live, we've spoken to other projects that are doing, something else as a service. So an example is, NFTs as a service. And what they're really doing is they're saying, hey, how do we bring in these like Web2 companies, right? Or these like physical infrastructure companies or like retail companies into the Web3 space. And what we're going to do is create blank as a service. So, I found that really interesting, and I'd love to understand like kind of like how you guys came about thinking about creating, nodes as a service, and also, where do you see yourself bridging the gap further with Web2 companies and offering other services as a service?
Sure. Let me tell you a story that I think will dovetail into this nicely. So in my previous life, as I said, I was a mobile engineer. I did iOS development for about 12 years, 11, 12 years. So one of the companies I worked for was the Washington Post. And at the time, this was 2015, the company was acquired by Jeff Bezos, former CEO of Amazon, in 2013. And one of the things he said is that he wants to make the company profitable. All newspaper companies have been dying a very slow death. The Washington Post started, up until recently, from what I understand, started turning a profit. What he did and what I was hired to do I was directly hired as a result of him buying the company, but I was not hired by him directly, if that makes sense, was to build a software as a service model there. We were going to build out the front end, back end, so the websites, the mobile apps, and the content management system, and the APIs for a bunch of other newspaper companies. What did that look like in practice? Uh, Basically, I was in charge of building out the mobile apps. At the end of the day, by the time I left, which was about 3 years later, I had built the Chicago Tribune, the New York Daily News, the LA Times, and 60 other newspapers. All of the infrastructure on the mobile apps, that was my design and the design of the team that I built around this product. And what that did, the reason people came to do this is because a lot of these publishers they weren't big enough to be able to fund their own engineering teams. At the time, the Washington Post had 200 to 300 people. So we had enough people to not only support the Washington Post product, but these other 60 products. So that is the SaaS model, right? That's how, that's kind of like what Amazon has done many times over with, especially with AWS. Why companies would want to get in this model now, and again, this is my own hypothesis or hyperbole, is Web2 companies don't have the knowledge. Most people don't have the knowledge. I mean, it's really difficult to hire people with existing knowledge, like with more than 1 year of experience in this space right now, who are actually looking for work, to be able to build out their interaction with this space, right? You need to first train up a person. First, they have to read a bunch of white papers to understand what is going on. Then they have to buy into the thesis and the ethos of all of this, and then they can actually build the thing so they understand why they're doing it and what they're doing. Because there's a bit of there's some ethical stuff that comes into this type of software development. So what these companies are doing, and I'm assuming this is why Starbucks partnered and Disney partnered with Polygon, is they are essentially building the on ramps to onboard people onto this platform. Um, because if they don't do that, these companies are never going to do it themselves, because by the time they train up their own individuals, it's going to take forever, because these companies, if any of you have ever worked for a large entity, they move like molasses. It take by the An idea is germinated in 2022 and it first goes into development in 2026. Like, you can go through a full presidential cycle before an idea is executed. So things like that. So we go into easy mode, right? We already provide you everything out of the box. You just have to find that one right champion in your company who has the clout with their company. Say, let's just try it. Let's just take a bet on Polygon. Let's just take a bet on Pocket. Let's just build it out with them. And once they do that, as long as we offer the right service, we've now made a relationship with someone in the Web 2 world. We've now built our brand a little bit, and then they tell their Web 2 partners from their boardrooms or whatnot, and we grow from there. So that's kind of how I would look at it. That's why I think SaaS models are great. Plus, they have recurring revenue, right? So if you're trying to project out your future burn and your future hiring, you can easily do that if you have a SaaS play.
So can I? So here's, maybe it's a statement. I love this conversation. Not only because you live probably a 30-minute drive away from me,
Something like that.
but also, it's nice. We talk to a lot of projects, and a lot of people talk about the tech. I think this is a little bit more about like tech, but also, and even from my CIO's perspective, a lot of business model innovation, and there are different revenue streams, different tokenomics. And this is one of the things that I've always been impressed about the Pocket team is, regardless of the price and the speculation of up and down, and it's gone through its ups and downs, and it's been kind of slow to even get out to markets. I think the Pocket team has been building it for 4 or 5 years before we listed it, something along the lines there. But it's a very thoughtful process, right? It's a kind of a methodical process about where it's going and how it needs to be built. And it's not, anyone I've talked about Pocket, I mean, sure, everyone's investment is nice when it goes up, but no one's like, "Yo, when is price going up, bro?" It's, this is not what, when people talk about Pocket, it's all about the use cases. It's nice. It's not price go up into the right, bro, kind of situation, and it's nice. It's nice to have an in-depth conversation about, what does it mean to actually take market share, and with that statement, what does it mean to actually take market share? I mean, look, Infura is fairly entrenched, and Infura does come, like I said, from consensus, and Infura is entrenched in Ethereum. So you guys are taking the Avalanche route, which we're pretty close to as well. We were actually, I think, the first US exchange to enable Avalanche C chain withdrawals, deposits, and so on. So
I
we're all
used it. It was awesome. By the way, I'm gonna just plug. They didn't ask me to plug this in, but I really love using Okcoin. It's one of my favorite exchanges.
Say more. Say
And
woohoo,
say more. Oh, the staking,
timestamp it.
the zero fee staking, and the decent amount. The good returns are great, and the fact that they do free wire transfers, at least with my bank, in and out, is great. This has not been a paid promotion.
more.
This really hasn't been a big
No,
promotion.
no, I really actually love the product. I think one of the things that makes it easier is I don't have to trade in a stable coin, right? I can trade directly with fiat. So as someone who is technical in this field, it is a pain in the butt sometimes, because I don't always sit around with stable coins. I kind of go in and out of various accounts. And sometimes I just want to withdraw into fiat, because sometimes you want to take profits. So that's okay to say out loud, right?
Yeah, yeah. Huddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pretty much have free wires up to, I don't know, I've been withdrawing a lot. Even myself, I know about what we do with Okcoin. Sometimes I withdraw and it's like showing up in the bank same day or next day. I'm like, wait a second. Do with other exchanges. 3 or 4 days later, you're waiting and you're looking at what's happening. ACH needs to clear, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
that
we
has
won't
been.
take names of other exchanges, but we all know the prices that we have to pay when we're doing wire transfers, or even transaction fees, right? Like, I mean, before I learned about OKCoin, I knew that I was using some of the major popular US exchanges, and I just thought it was so normal to pay like $40 or something for like my tiny, tiny, tiny order for just like transaction fees. And then I started using OKCoin, and I was like, wait, hold on. It's like $1. Like, what world am I living in? It's just like the future.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The future is here. Okay, coin. Maybe this is maybe the new rebrand.
Maybe it is. When they say what is OKX or what is OKCoin, like you're just
Yeah,
the future.
the future. So hey, quick question. How do you guys? Sorry. I mean, we can happily shill okay coin all we want, but
I
how do
think
you
we did
guys?
enough.
We didn't know. We did. How do you guys plan on taking share from Infura and others? I mean, look, Infura is pretty entrenched,
I
right?
can't talk about that. I'm sorry. I know too much about too many different things. So, like, from what I understand, I think they've publicly shared sometime earlier this year that they do about 8 billion requests per day. We do one eighth of that across 30 to 40 networks. So we're getting there, right? But beyond that, I can't go beyond that at this point, right?
Sure.
Fair enough.
Basically, what Arthur's saying, let me translate, is that we're gonna meet. We're gonna go to one of those famous Baltimore slash Philadelphia Russian bathhouses. So like, uh, and then we're gonna sit there in a sauna, and I'm gonna be like, "Listen, tell me something that I need to know." And he's
I
just
can't
gonna.
say. I honestly, it's a question I haven't even brought up internally in a long time. All I can, yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. I can tell you how we took market share from one of our other competitors, who's no longer a competitor, which is Anchor.
tell us
So
about
I
that.
saw that there was some news
yeah,
for Anchor last year, like this year sometime, right? Like early this year, you guys, May 2022.
yeah, I think so. Anchor, I think, is the one that maintains polygon-rpc.com. I think
Mhm.
so. It's the main Polygon RPC. So they are effectively an aggregate of a bunch of RPC providers, and we are an RPC provider, a remote procedure call. But the basic idea of what we do is we have a Pocket node, and the Pocket node relays the call to a Ethereum node or a Polygon node or whatnot. It's kind of what RPC call is. You don't have to have two nodes, but that's what we do in our case. Um, so we, rather than compete with them for share, they just integrated us. We are a base layer for them, right? We are something they depend on now for service. That's kind of the premise with our company is we want to be like the base layer of Web3 communication, and that's what we're slowly finding as the years go on, and that's why the company's still around 5 years later, and why we're still churning away in bear and bull market cycles. Is that people want us, right? We still have people calling us every single day or paying us for wanting to be prioritized in our service. We still, in this entire last 4 months, when the market has gone totally sideways or upside down, whichever way you want to think about it, we've gone up from 700 to a billion relays per day, 700 million of it. So clearly we're doing something right. And I think over time, it's going to be marketing, right? We have to market it to the right folks. It's doing interviews like this. It's we have a conference out in but we do conferences all the time. Or now we're doing it all the time. But we had one in the Dominican where we invited a bunch of node runners called InfraCon. We have another version of InfraCon going to Bogota in October around DevCon and ETH Bogota. We're gonna have people come in and do hackathons and show them the power of our service, and that's how we will slowly eat at market share. I think there was something that came up. I'm going to totally misquote this, but AWS was a service that was built, I think, in 2001 or 2002 as a way to kind of bolster Amazon.com, the marketplace. And it took them until 2014 or 2015 to just win. Like out of the blue, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, everyone just uses AWS now. It's just one." And that's probably the game we're playing here, right? Amazon Bezos had a flywheel. We have a flywheel too, right? We have node runners that stake tokens for rewards, and they use those rewards to either take a profit or stake more nodes or just to hold. And then starting next week, we will have people paying for our service and staking tokens as well, um, uh, to pay for that service, and they get reimbursed with those tokens after a couple of years, which they can sell or stake more or do whatever it is that they want. So basically, we have tokens being generated, tokens being locked up for long periods of time, liquidity going down, and eventually everyone's favorite topic of price going up. But again, I'm not supposed to talk about price, so I'm not talking about price. I'm just saying this should be a side effect. Plus, we have a DAO that helps control, it helps the community vote and control on all this stuff, on our economics and everything. So to go to something you said 15 minutes ago is, yeah, to work at Pocket, you really need to understand the economic model here, because like if you understand it, then you're probably not going to want to do anything else. Because once you understand the whole flywheel, you want to work towards executing it. It's one of the most interesting problems because it's an incentive problem. It's incentivizing a two-sided marketplace with magic internet money. Well, utility tokens in this case, because we're a utility. So, and the question is, how do you solve for that problem? And I think I mentioned earlier, stake for access, right? You stake for access to be a validator or a servicer or in our network to secure our network, and use stake for access to be able to run requests to our network. Yeah, I think I've said it every single way possibly now throughout this conversation.
Pocket, pocket,
There
pocket.
we go. Pocket.
I think that was super
I think,
illuminating, and I think we have a lot of questions left. But
Please go
well,
for it.
we'll need to start rapping. We got 2 minutes, and we got to do okay, not okay.
exactly, so I think we jump into okay, not okay, and I think we're gonna start off with our fan favorite, and at least like Alex and I's favorite question, which is pineapples on pizza. Okay or not okay?
Not okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, come on. It's
I
okay. Next time when
I
he
can't.
takes you to the bathhouse, he's gonna give you a pineapple pizza, and he's gonna change your mind, and then we'll have this conversation again.
Pineapple or pizza together. Beautiful harmony.
All right, I'll let Alex take the next one.
Oh, I don't even know if I can after that one. Jacob, we have to keep all of this. This is gold. This is gold.
Is there a bathhouse here that I don't know about?
Well, afterwards, there's one in
Okay.
Philadelphia. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Philadelphia is an hour away. I mean, my
Yeah.
gym here has a steam room and a sauna, and it's close enough to get to a bathhouse.
There we go. There we go. Okay. Having no, I don't want to get you in trouble. This is not an
That's
endorsement.
okay. I can just say no.
Yeah.
Right.
Having a side gig in crypto, having a day job and having a side hustle in crypto,
Sure.
okay or not okay?
It's okay. I actually encourage entrepreneurship. The whole company does. I think half the company has an LLC for various reasons. I have one called the iOSconsultant.com. Like I said, I've been doing mobile development for a decade. I have a skill set, right? I have a very niche thing that I do on the side. It's very rare at this point. It's maybe like once every couple of weeks at night after my kids are sleeping when I'm not on pocket time. I help people get their apps into the iOS App Store because I've done it, thousands of times, and I know how to get around a lot of weird issues. And I just have pretty much a company around iOS App Store policy resolution issues. Actually, funny story there. Before I even joined, and I know we have to wrap up, but I think you'll appreciate this. Before I even understood Web3, I randomly got onto a call on a community call with Zapper, and I had said something there, totally stupid, I think, I don't remember. But the founder of POAP reached out to me. I had no idea what POAP was or Pope back then. And we had a whole call, and it's the first time I got paid in crypto. It got me super interested. I'm like, whoa, someone just paid me in crypto. Like, what the hell do I do with this? And then when I get in this industry, I'm like, holy shit, this guy's in my Rolodex. Like, I talked to him before. Like, I had no idea who he was. And it was pretty cool. Lately, actually, funny enough, one of the things that keeps coming across is in the last 6 months, I've had probably 10 or 12 crypto projects trying to get their apps in the iOS store. This was the first year that's ever happened. I've never had to deal with that before. So now my worlds are colliding, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I totally support side gigs, especially if you're doing like personal node running. Like I don't have a node running business, but I run nodes. Obviously, I work at Pocket and I've run nodes elsewhere. But the question is, how do you take those profits? So if you do it through a corporate entity, not financial advice, it's a little easier to deal with in the US. So again, 100% support it because, why not?
I
love it. Devika.
I was going to say well, actually, no, let me change that. Selling your Ethereum before the merge.
Why?
Okay, not okay.
I want to get rid of all my stupid NFTs that I accrued that I just so I have more Ethereum. By the way, I buy all my Ethereum on Okcoin now.
Oh, I have a question. It's not okay. Bitcoin or Ethereum? Which bigger allocation of your portfolio?
Oh, that's a good one.
Ethereum is a bigger allocation. Actually, funny. I talked to a lot of people lately. They're like, I haven't had Bitcoin in my portfolio forever. I just, I have. I'll tell you this. I have a cousin. My cousin is a smart guy. Went to MIT. He's a VP at a big company out in San Francisco. And I talked to him the other time. We were at the pool, actually. We weren't even at the bathhouse. We were at the pool and we were talking about this before I even got into space. And I was asking him his opinion. He's like, listen, I call it schmuck insurance. And I said, why do you call it schmuck insurance? He's like, well, if they go up, I don't want to be the only schmuck that doesn't have a bag of Ethereum or Bitcoin. So I have schmuck insurance for both, but I prefer Ethereum. I think, however, I read something recently that says Bitcoin, the platform, was built to support Bitcoin, the form of payment, the currency, while Ethereum, the token, is built to support Ethereum, the platform. So the incentives are completely different, right? The
Yeah.
Ethereum platform is essentially a virtual machine. The Bitcoin platform is a way to pay. Both can live with each other. I honestly, I'm a big Ethereum bull, right? I'm not a maxi, but I don't believe in maximalists anyway. But I'm a big Ethereum bull.
Same.
Love it. Same. I see. I'm more on the Bitcoin side, but
Really?
we can save that for another time. I
Yeah,
actually
sure,
had
go
more
ahead.
Ethereum. I flipped it back into Bitcoin, which was a little bit of a tax mistake because I had to pay taxes on it. It was a big gain from when I bought it in 2016.
Oh,
Ooh, oh my God.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, boys and girls. That one hurt last year. I'm still coming out of it.
2016. Oh.
So what's financial freedom like, and why do you work for OKCoin?
Yeah, I didn't. Good question. No, I'm kidding. I didn't. I wish I bought more. I wish I bought more. Davika and I were Microsoft working together when we stumbled upon blockchain
Well,
and
more like
crypto. And
Alex stumbled upon blockchain and then tried to convince all of us to buy Ethereum and Bitcoin, and most of us laughed him out of the room. So good times,
I know
good times.
it was
I
Ethereum
think
was at
everyone has
50.
this story.
Yeah, Ethereum was at 50 and Bitcoin went all the way up, pumped all the way up to 1800. And I was like, guys, buy, buy. And they're like, no. But Davika bought.
I bought
Davika
some.
bought
I
some.
bought some. I bought some. Well, I bought more. I bought more Ethereum.
Mm,
But I know I bought Ethereum at 120.
not still.
Nice.
Yeah, but I mean, again, if I only had bought more than I had bought, if only I had
Yeah.
been
Listen, if none of us would be talking now, we would all
Yeah.
be,
well,
some island
us
somewhere.
right now.
That's why not financial advice. Pocket. Okay, guys. That note. Let's wrap here. Let's wrap our OK Coin live. Arthur, thanks so much. We actually should go grab a beer.
Sure,
Or
yeah,
something
100%. I'll give
else.
you my info after.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. And oh, before you go, how can people reach you? How can people find out more about Pocket? Just do a little shilling.
Sure, sure. So Pocket is POKT.network. The company is also Pocket Network, spelled the way Pocket normally is. On Twitter, POKT Network. On Telegram, we have a Discord. I think it's either Pocket Network or Pocket Official. We have a new website launching in a few days, so Pocket.network, POKT.network is a good place to go. For me, if you want what I tell everyone on the phone call, my name is Arthur Sabintsev, but if you want to find me on Twitter, it's ART, S as in Sam, A as in Adam, B as in boy, I as in indigo, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, S as in Sam, E as in Edward, V as in Victor, that type of thing. Because, I have a complicated, I'm sure you both can understand.
We're gonna do it. Yeah, we'll note it at the bottom of the show notes.
Yeah. So that's how people can find me. I'm okay active on Twitter. I kind of go through phases where I'm super busy and super not. Right now, I'm more of a heads down building. We have a lot of releases coming up. But yeah, that's how you can find me. This has been fun.
Alex,
Awesome.
Mr.
Thanks,
EBITDA on Twitter.
Mr. Ibida on Twitter. That's right. And Devika, your debut.
It's actually just Mittal Devika. So it's Mittaldevika. So follow me if you
Awesome.
want to get a tweet once every 6 months.
At least you're honest about it.
I try.